Hey guys, welcome back to Gabriella's Kitchen. Today I've got another great winter warmer recipe for you. I'm going to show you how to make a really nice slow braised beef stew. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off by just sauteing and sweating off our vegetables. So into some olive oil into a hot pan, I'm going to add some garlic and onion and get that softened. You don't have to be precious about the size of your vegetables and how they're cooked, because everything's going to be cooked so slowly you can really do whatever style you like. All I will say is if you're adding things like potatoes, keep them a little chunkier because otherwise they will completely cook down to mush and they'll disappear. So after a few minutes the onion and garlic should be nice and soft and translucent. You can get that into your casserole dish. So as I said before, we're going to be cooking this in the oven at a really low temperature. So any dish that is oven proof will work fine. If you haven't got something with a lid, don't worry, you can just use a lid of tin foil or make one out of grease proof. So empty that back onto the pan. Now I'm going to go in with my leeks and my mushrooms. And again, we just want to soften them another couple of minutes, that's all it takes. This might seem a bit of a fact that we're having to do this in different batches, but what we're gaining by doing it slowly like this is each vegetable's getting the chance to sort of soften and take on the flavour of the olive oil. If we were to put all the veg in the pan at once, it's going to end up boiling and stewing and it's going to take on no flavour. So just take your time on this step and remember, it's going in the oven and we're going to forget about it. Mushrooms and leeks, they're nice and softened. Again, that took 2 minutes into the pan. So now we're ready to make a start on our beef. You can use any sort of stewing beef you can get from the supermarkets. So what you want to do is you want to pat it dry, and the reason why we're going to pat it dry is we're going to take off all that excess moisture, which means it can take in more seasoning, more salt, more pepper, more of the flour we're going to coat it in. Just pat it dry with some kitchen roll, if you like me, blue roll from the restaurant, just a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to season it heavily. So I'm not talking 2 grinds of pepper, we're going to go in quite heavy here to get a good grind in that, and then same again with salt. So we've got the salt and pepper. Now I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of plain flour, and what this is going to do is it's going to act as a barrier onto the beef, which is going to help it get a really nice golden colour as we're trying to seal it in the pan. So just massage that all in. Also, another great tip about using the flour is that's going to create our gravy and our sauce for the stew. You can use gluten-free flour if you are celiac or intolerant. So that's nicely coated. We're going to bring our pan back that we used before. So into the same pan as before, we're going to add a bit more oil and we're going to start frying our steak. Again, let's not overcrowd the pan. You really want to get this beef to take on a bit of colour and we don't want to boil it. And don't worry about there being bits sticking to the bottom of the pan, because what we're going to do after is we're going to add some wine and stock to deglaze the pan and take up all those flavourful burnt bits. Now we brown the meat off, we're going to deglaze the pan. So deglazing just means sort of removing all the flavour and burnt bits from the bottom of the pan. You can do this with stock, you can do this with red wine, or if you want you could use a stout or a beer or even white wine. I'm going to use red wine today. And again, it's the same old rule that I always say, let's go for the middle shelf, top shelf, nothing too cheap. It's got to be something you'd enjoy drinking. So straight into that hot pan, we're going to add the wine. And I'm going to appear from a cloud of smoke as if by magic. And then what you're going to do is with your spoon, you're just going to encourage all those bits that have been stuck to the bottom of the pan, all those little nuggets of flavour, and you're just going to use it and scrape all around. And we're going to go in with about half a bottle. I'm using a kilo of beef, so we want to be generous. You want to save some to have a glass after as well. So we're just looking to get all the bits off the bottom of the pan and reduce it by half. So the best way to do this is once you put the wine in, take a little mental note how full the wine was in the pan and then sort of watch it from half. That's the easiest way to do it. It doesn't have to be completely reduced because it is going into the oven for a few hours, but we just want to sort of burn off that really harsh alcohol taste. As you can see, it's bubbling. I'm about 20 seconds away from being there. Okay, so now we're going to add the rest of our seasonings. So I'm going to go in with some sprigs of thyme, some bay leaves, that goes in, Lea and Perrins, a good couple of tablespoons, be generous. We're going to go in with a big heaped tablespoon of tomato puree, And then the secret ingredient, we're going to go in with a good squeeze of tomato ketchup. This just adds a background sweetness but sort of still complements the tomato flavour. Trust me, it works. Give that a good mix. And then once that's all dissolved, we're going to add some beef stock. You can use chicken if you like, but beef gives a more deeper flavour. I'm going to add my stock. Give that a good mix. Then I'm going to pour that over all of our veg and beef and give everything a nice stir so everything's incorporated together. Pour my stock and red wine mixture over my veg. And then at this final stage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some chopped up carrots, parsnips and potatoes. I've kept these really chunky because I still want to have a bit of texture once they've cooked. So once all your veg and everything's mixed together, just make sure everything's covered with liquid. If not, just add a little bit more stock where needed. I'm going to go with the final season of salt and pepper, then it's going to go into an oven at a low temperature, about 160 degrees, for at least 2 hours. We want the meat to be tender and falling apart. While the stew's in the oven cooking, I'm going to show you how to take your stew to the next level. We're going to make a little gremolata. So this is basically something that you can finish a dish with, whether it's a stew, a soup, or a meat dish, or even fish. It just adds a real freshness to the dish. So in a little bowl here, I've just got some finely chopped chilli, garlic, parsley, and a bit of orange zest. I'm just going to mix it all together with a couple of splashes of really good quality olive oil. And once the stew comes out of the oven, we'll just sprinkle this over the top and it'll just cut through the richness and add an incredible fresh citrus flavour. So it's just come out of the oven. I ended up giving this 2.5 hours and it smells amazing. And you can just see how much the sauce is thickened up, all the veg is tender, so we're ready to finish it off with our lovely gremolata. Guys, my slow cooked winter beef stew. Thanks for watching.